Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, the Hard Luck Hoosiers drop another game against a ranked opponent.
And the women's soccer team aims to make a push for the postseason. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
It's a banger. Hello everyone and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Evan Kamikow.
And I'm Emma Watson.
Emma, I'm curious, how long have you been with IUSTV?
Here and there, about a year and a half now. How long have you been at IUSTV?
Here and there, two and a half years. Have you ever anchored before?
No, have you?
Well, let's get right into it. Football returned to action after the bye week, and they were once again greeted by another top 10 team, all while welcoming a raucous homecoming crowd. IUSTV Sports beat reporters Will Trubshaw and Noah Harrison were there at the Rock Saturday to break it all down.
First homecoming game in 2 years here at Indiana, and the Hoosiers unable to pick up the victory again. They lost 2015 at number 10 Michigan State, and Noah, in this game, Indiana's defense kept them in it. They played a superb game, sacks, interceptions, really did a good job. They did all they could to put Indiana in position to win, but the offense just was not there again today.
Yeah, like you said, you can't really ask for more from the defense. They kept the number one running back in the nation to just 87 yards. They made plays when necessary, and we just have to wait for the offense to kind of catch up to them. They had plenty of opportunities to make things happen, but just weren't able to execute.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker held to just 87 yards, just about half of his season average, 152 yards a game he's been averaging. But again, it's the offense. They just haven't found their groove, and they haven't been able to execute in those big moments, despite outgaining Michigan State today. Tom Allen talked a little bit about it after the game.
To me, it's the same issues, as far as not finishing drives in the red zone, moving the football, but not, getting the touchdowns, and eventually that can be the difference, and you lose the game by 5 points and give up pick six, which is just can't happen. I mean, protecting the football, that continues to be, to me, that's kind of a glaring thing, Got some takeaways on defense, which was huge, but not protecting it and then not scoring, so it's like a double whammy to me. So
now, of course, Indiana was shorthanded today. No Tywan Mullen. Reese Taylor was only able to play for a little bit. Michael Penix was out as well. So we saw Jack Tuttle. And Jack Tuttle had his moments, threw for 188 yards, and that first drive looked really good. The Hoosiers marched down the field, could only get 3 points out of it, but then Tuttle threw a couple of interceptions as well. And the Hoosiers were only able to score 1 touchdown. It was their first in Big Ten play this year, thanks to Stephen Carr. Yeah, indeed. So the Hoosiers falling to 2-4 on the season now with a loss. It's not going to get any easier either. Now they take on another top 10 opponent in Ohio State next weekend here on October 23rd. That game's already sold out, but don't worry. Noah, Will Trubshaw, Ryan Scott, the 3 members of our crew will have you covered. Reporting for IUSTV Sports after another IU loss.
A loss to Ohio State Saturday would drop Indiana to 2-5 and make a third straight bowl game virtually impossible to reach. The Hoosiers have not beaten the Buckeyes since 1988.
The Indiana men's soccer team was in action this past Sunday in Happy Valley as they took on Penn State. The Hoosiers got the job done and came away with a 1-0 win thanks to Nis Sussex cross that deflected off of Penn State's Brandon Hackenberg for an own goal. This secured IU's 4th consecutive victory, and they leap into first place in the Big Ten standings. The team will be back home this Sunday against Wisconsin, looking to extend their win streak to 5 in a row.
The women's soccer team finished up their 3-game road trip last weekend. IUSTV Sports soccer reporter Emma Watson has the recap.
Thanks, Evan. After a 1-0 win against Northwestern, the Indiana women's soccer team traveled to University Park to face off against Penn State. The game started off well for the Hoosiers. The defense kept the Nittany Lions at bay, but a late goal by Jordan Caniff in the first half wrote the script for the second. Veteran Sam Coffey converted a penalty kick to make it 2-0, and Caniff added another for her brace in the 65th minute. IU fell to Penn State 3-0. Heading into the match with Maryland, head coach Erwin Van Bennekamp labeled this match as a must-win. However, the Hoosiers were only able to walk away with 1 point. In their 4th overtime game of the season, IU fought Maryland to a 0-0 draw. With their performance on Sunday, the team broke the single-season record for shutouts with 10. As of October 20th, Indiana sits at 5th in the standings behind Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue, and of course, Rutgers. Rutgers clinched the Big Ten regular season title last week with their win over Michigan State. IU hosts Rutgers at home on Thursday. Then the Hoosiers trekked north to West Lafayette to challenge the Purdue Boilermakers in their last game of the regular season. Rutgers and Purdue both sit at the top of the Big Ten in offensive production. Meanwhile, IU is first in the conference in goals allowed and shutouts on the season. However, IU will be without 2 players this week. Forward Gabby Rennie and goalkeeper Jamie Gerstenberg have been called up to their respective national teams. Gerstenberg will participate in a camp with the under-20 Germans women's national team. Meanwhile, Rennie will represent New Zealand at the highest level in matches against Canada this weekend. Senior Caitlin Arbuckle will be the starting goalkeeper for both matches this week. The match against Rutgers will kick off at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here at Bill Armstrong Stadium, while the game on Sunday will kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in West Lafayette. If you cannot attend in person, both games will be live streamed on Big Ten Network Plus. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Emma Watson. Back to you in the studio.
You can keep up to date with the women's soccer team with IUS TV on Twitter and Instagram.
Indiana volleyball had a tough week against 2 top 15 squads, getting swept in both matches. The first match took place on Wednesday in Lincoln against Nebraska on ESPNU. The Cornhuskers have one of the premier volleyball programs in the nation and showed it, controlling all 3 sets against the Hoosiers. Nebraska outkilled Indiana 46-23 and dominated defensively with more than 22 digs against the Hoosiers. The second match of the weekend was on Sunday at Minnesota. The Golden Gophers are putting together a great season so far and also controlled all 3 sets against the Hoosiers. A bright spot for Indiana was Brianna Edwards, who had 13 kills at a high efficiency clip. Indiana volleyball returns home this week facing Rutgers on Sunday after a 4-game road trip. The next 4 games will take place at Wilkinson Hall, where Indiana is 2-4 so far this season.
Last week, the women's basketball team held their preseason media availability before they tip off in November. Our IUS TV Sports basketball beat reporters Audrey Hausberger and Brett Smith have more on what Terry Morin and the team had to say.
The women's basketball team held their first preseason press conference after an Elite Eight appearance in the 2020 season, and Terry Morin is excited for the players to experience a normal semester on IU's campus.
A year ago, we laughed, but Chloe didn't. She had no idea where Kirkwood was, right? We were talking about that in a discussion, and neither Keandra Brown. We took them on their campus tour for the first time this summer.
After an all Big Ten first-team season, Grace Berger represented USA's AmeriCup team over the summer and describes the benefits of the experience playing with some of the best players in the country.
I think that experience was great for my game in too many ways to count. Honestly, I think obviously I was for 3 weeks straight practicing twice a day for 3-4 hours a day against the best players in the country. So just seeing kind of where I stand with them and seeing what I need to work on, I think that was valuable for me, and I've been able to work on different things in my game that maybe I didn't know before.
Although there are high expectations for the team, Terry Morin is holding every player to the same standard, understanding the level of competition the team will face this season.
The key in all that is me remembering and our staff remembering that we still have to hold those 5 starters to a standard, right, and still bring out and get the best out of them every day by still coaching them hard.
With 5 starters returning, the veteran players understand the importance of mentoring the freshmen and being there for them on and off the court.
My role is just to kind of help them out as much as I can. I've been through different transitions. I've been a freshman too, so I try to help out in the way that I was helped out when I was a freshman and what I felt really helped me.
Reporting out of Bloomington, Indiana for IUS TV, Brett Smith and Audrey Hausberger.
This somewhat normalcy that we've seen has really, I think, done this group good.
The women's basketball team is starting this season with their highest ranking in program history, sitting at number 8 in the country. They begin play in 2 weeks on November 5th against the University of Indianapolis.
Coming up after the break, we crown this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And we've got the latest on swimming and diving, men's tennis, and much more. You're watching Hoosier Sports Nite. Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is IUSTV sports reporter Ethan Maisel. Ethan, over to you.
Thanks, Evan and Emma. This week we have two Hoosier Highlight athletes, and they are swimmers Brendan Burns and Gabriel Fantoni. Burns is a junior from Berwyn, Pennsylvania, and an 8-time All-American swimmer. In the meet against Northwestern, Burns set a new pool record of 1 minute, 43.18 seconds, en route to winning the 200 fly for Indiana. Burns' all-time record for the event is only 4 seconds behind his time from this past Saturday. However, there was more than one pool record broken in Evanston on Saturday. The other belongs to Gabriel Fantoni. Fantoni is a 5th-year senior from Belo Horizonte, Brazil, and like Burns, Fantoni is an 8-time All-American swimmer. But he is also an NCAA champion in the 400 medley relay from 2019. Fantoni would go on to win the 100 fly, swimming a time of 46.09, another Northwestern pool record. Fantoni has been consistently great in the backstroke for the Hoosiers, but his performance on Saturday demonstrated his versatility as a power swimmer. Congrats to both of these athletes on their record-breaking performances. Now, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Ethan. IU field hockey had an outstanding start to last weekend as they defeated the Michigan State Spartans 5-0 on Friday. The Hoosiers were the underdogs in the game but managed to stay strong offensively throughout. Players Anna Gwadzinski, Kira Kurland, Haley Couch, Megan Dillon, and Peyton Becker each scored a goal to help keep the Hoosiers stay ahead. This win puts your Hoosier field hockey team ranked at 25th in the nation. On Sunday, the Hoosiers faced the #1 ranked Michigan Wolverines and lost 3-5. IU put up a good fight with 2 goals scored immediately in the first half by Sydney Keld and Sofia Arabola Garcia. However, the Wolverines dominated throughout the rest of the game, scoring 5 goals. Megan Dillon scored 1 more goal for IU at the end of the 4th quarter, but it was not enough to save the Hoosiers. Your IU field hockey team will be back home at Friday at noon to take on St. Louis for Senior Day.
This past weekend, the 5th-ranked men's swim and dive team defeated 24th-ranked Northwestern 173-120. And the 11th-ranked women's team got a win over the 16th-ranked Wildcats 175-125. The men's swimming team dominated the distance freestyle events, going 1, 2, and 3 in the 1,000 free and placing 1st and 2nd in the 500 free. Redshirt junior Michael Bringar won both events for the Hoosiers. The women's swim team also took over the distance freestyle events as freshman Mariah Denigan won both the 1,000 free and the 500 freestyle. The men's diving team dominated the 1-meter dive, taking 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, with senior Cole Vanderveerder placing 1st. Both undefeated teams will be traveling to Columbus, Ohio on October 29th to face Ohio State and Virginia Tech, with the men's team also competing against Penn State.
This past weekend, the IU men's team traveled to Louisville to take part in the Louisville Invitational. It was a great weekend for the men as they won 3 different draws. The doubles pair of Luka Vukovic and Carson Haskins won the A draw, and the pair of Jagger Saylor and Patrick Fletchell also did well but ultimately lost in the semis. IU continued their success into singles as Michael Andre won the A draw and Ilya Tirapolsky won the B draw. IU has some time off before they compete next, not playing until the first weekend in November, where they will compete in the Big Ten individuals.
This past Monday, the men's golf team finished in 9th place at the Quail Valley Collegiate Invitational down in Vero Beach, Florida. Thanks to a 5-under 67 from senior Mitch Davis, the Hoosiers were able to climb a few spots on the last day of the tournament. Mitch Davis finished with a season-best 7-under en route to a 12th place finish and his second top 20 in as many tournaments. Sophomore Drew Salyers kept up his impressive season with a 3-under total after finishing 3 rounds and finishing tied for 28th. The last Hoosier to shoot under par was sophomore Clay Merchant, who finished his tournament with a 1-under 71 and tied for 39th. The Hoosiers have one more tournament to end the fall season. They will travel to Wilmington, North Carolina for the Williams Cup starting this coming Monday.
The Indiana cross-country teams competed in the Nuttycombe, Wisconsin Invitational this past weekend. The men ran an 8K, having 2 finishers in the top 100. Senior Arjun Jha led Indiana, finishing 25th with a total time of 23 minutes and 49 seconds. Behind Jha came senior Ben Veach, placing 91st with a time of 24 minutes and 26 seconds. Overall, the Indiana men placed 21st, recording 479 points in the Invitational. On the women's side, they completed a 6K race. Senior Sarah Smith finished in the top 100, finishing in 96th place with a time of 21 minutes and 16 seconds. This is the second time in a row that Schmidt was the top finisher for the women's team. The women finished 26th overall on the day. Both teams will be back in action for the Big Ten Championship, which will be held at Penn State on October 29th.
Joining us now in studio with the Candy Stripe calendar report is IUSTV sports reporter Jevin McCoskey. Jevin?
Thanks, Evan. I'm Jevin McCoskey, and here's what's coming up this week in Hoosier Athletics. The women's tennis team will head down to Murfreesboro, Tennessee to compete in the ITA Regional Tournament starting this Thursday, with matches continuing throughout the weekend. On Friday, field hockey will host St. Louis University in a 12 p.m. contest. Indiana football hopes to gain its first win against a ranked opponent this season as they face off against the number 5 Ohio State Buckeyes in front of a sold-out home crowd at 7:30 on Saturday. Field hockey will compete in its second match of the weekend on Sunday at 11 a.m. against Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. The men's soccer team looks to continue their winning streak as they take on Wisconsin. The Hoosiers and Badgers will square off at 1 p.m. in Bloomington. Sticking with soccer, the women's team looked to close out their regular season strong against number 18 ranked Purdue in West Lafayette, also at 1 p.m. And to round it all out, women's volleyball will face off against Rutgers at 2 p.m. in Wilkinson Hall. And that does it for this week's preview of Hoosiers Athletics. Evan, Emma, back to you guys.
Thanks, Jevin. And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to check out new episodes of The Toss-Up and the B-Town Breakdown.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. For our production crew behind me, I'm Emma Watson.
And I'm Evan Kamikow, and we will see you next week.